you think there is time to make enough change to avoid a major upheaval and even war?
And what was the last word? Even war?
War. And
yeah.
even war.
Well, I don't think that that we're all of a sudden going to have a Congress that will come to its senses, cut spending, balance the budget, and come back to our sanity. I don't think it's inevitable that you have to have a war, but I think the financial crisis is going to get much worse. I think it'll be more of a currency crisis with high inflation. Hopefully, then we will have done our work and intellectually have set the groundwork for the right kind of transition. But we're not immune from the violence, the type of violence that is occurring in Greece. Greece is worse off than we are, but we do have a lot of people who don't want any benefits cut, and California is facing that now. You can't get away with just cutting because they probably figure that the federal government will bail them out. So I expect the crisis to be economic, and hopefully the violence is minimized. But as far as war is concerned, we already have too much war going on, and I argue the case that to help our economy, the first thing we ought to do, and the easiest thing we ought to be able to do politically, is stop the warmongering and bring our troops home, both for national security reasons as well as for economic reasons. So I'd like to see us go in exactly the opposite direction, because so often when the economies get bad, people do resort to war. And one of the worst arguments is war helps out the economy, which is absolutely absurd, and this came out of the idea that World War II finally got us out of the Depression. Very, very dangerous statement, because some people actually believe that.
Mm-hmm. Yes, well, thank you very much for your time today, and I really appreciate all the work that you're doing, and we look forward to having you on our show again.
Thank you. Good to be with you.
All right, take care.
Mm-hmm.
Folks, we only have a minute or so left to our show, and I'm going to give the last few words to Joe Seehusen. Joe, what are your final thoughts on this?
Well, Michael, I think we really are at a crossroads here for not only America, but I think as we're seeing in this past week, what's going on in Europe and this bailout really for the world. And much of it centers on this runaway debt. And I think what we saw, just the trillions upon trillions that are adding up and aggregating in this country and really around the world. And I think what's happening is we're just seeing an absolute lack of will, a lack of insight, and frankly, basic intelligence, or certainly economic intelligence, on the part of the political class worldwide. When that $1 trillion was put in place last week to kind of bail out Greece, but then, of course, Spain and Italy and Portugal, it really sent a very clear message to politicians worldwide. You don't need to worry about financial discipline. You don't need to, quote, worry about reality economics, because we're going to keep living in pretend land and printing all of this money. Well, there's going to be a comeuppance. I don't know. We don't know whether it's in months or years or perhaps as long as decades, but it will come to pass that this debt will need to be paid off. It gets more, the longer we wait, the more painful it becomes to pay it off. And I think when we see people like Dr. Paul in particular, and much of the thrust of the Tea Party movement, which is both a national movement in America, we see it spreading worldwide. It's basically everyday people saying, we don't know what the problem is, but it looks like you're not being responsible economically. You're putting our family and our children in jeopardy. We're now going to step in. Everyday Americans are going to step in. We're going to stop this. We're going to put a halt to it. We're going to vote you out of office. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's the big trend that we see, and I think it is a time for everyday Americans who have not been in politics, who have not been studying economics, to get involved, because quite literally our collective and individual well-being is really at stake.
Well, Joe, I really want to thank you for those final comments, and so I would like to thank Dr. Ron Paul and Mr. Joe Seehusen for being with us today. This is Michael McKay in Radio Free Market. Please visit us on the web at radiofreemarket.com, where you can download this and all of our shows for free. And until next week, wherever you are, please stand up for freedom. Thank you for listening.